My name's Captain Adrian Orchard. I'm the Commanding Officer of the Royal Naval Air Station at Culdrose down here in the southwest part of Cornwall. Down here at Culdrose we have a range of activity, and before we start it's probably easier to go straight into the Strategic Defence and Security Review. It's been a hugely successful review for all the services really, but in particular the Royal Navy's come out in a way that nobody really imagined. For us here at Culdrose, the two really big pieces that are important are the continuous at-sea nuclear deterrent and the commitment to the new carrier capability. And we'll talk a little bit more of those later. For me, the priorities have always been the same. My job is to force generate, so create aircraft, equipment, people, crews, ready and available to go out and deploy all over the world, 24/7, on various ships of the Royal Navy and occasionally of our allies. The priorities again for me start and finish with helicopter generation and observer and fixed-wing training generation. So what does Culdrose bring to the party? Well, let's start maybe where most people wouldn't expect me to, in the fixed-wing training pipeline that we have here. We do quite a lot of training with the Avenger aircraft, which is used in the military flying training system to teach observers. And our observer training is quite expansive and it's very much state-of-the-art. And with the announcement during the defence review of the maritime patrol aircraft, it may be that we see an upsurge in our training down here as the UK works out exactly how it's going to bring online the numbers of aircrew that it now needs to bring in that exciting capability. And obviously the maritime patrol aeroplane in the P8 is an aircraft that we, the Navy, are very, very much looking forward to seeing, as it makes a very significant part and has a big impact in the wide maritime patrol requirements of anti-submarine warfare. On that, it's worth noting that we've never been busier when it comes to doing those high-end parts of our warfare. And we're at full steam at the moment training for that and dealing with emergent world threats. So the next part is Rotary Wing, inevitably. We are the biggest Rotary Wing base around. And we have a whole range of both new and older aircraft here. The newest ones, our Merlin HM2s, are state-of-the-art, and we'll definitely finish with a high point of those. But we can't forget the veritable Sea King search and rescue helicopter, which is soon to go out of service at the end of the year, having given really valiant service for over 40 years. And the skies of Cornwall will be a quieter place for not seeing the famous red and grey Sea Kings. We also will continue operating the Sea King. Many believe that that was the end of the Sea King, but it's not. In the Sea King air surveillance and control aircraft. We'll operate those all the way through until they get replaced by the Crowsnest aircraft, which is a Merlin Mark II with an airborne surveillance and control capability bolted onto it. But let's talk about the Merlin Mark II now. By any stretch of any imagination, it is a multi-mission helicopter, not just an anti-submarine warfare helicopter. And the upgrade that it just recently had, which is known as System Release 8, brings it right up to the fighting standard, if you like, that we have always desired in the Merlin. It brings in defensive aid suite, an electro-optic and infrared camera system, and a range of other effects and capabilities that really make that an absolutely world-beating helicopter. The training has really stepped up a gear. We're in full speed. We've got a fantastic state-of-the-art training facility here that we call the Merlin University. And it really needs to be that, because this is a machine that is a world beater. The future is very bright. We wanted to get an additional 8 Merlin out of the Defence Review. We didn't quite achieve that, but we still have not lost hope that the 8 Merlin Mark Is that were reduced in size from a total 38, so we've got 30 Merlin Mark IIs. Those 8 still exist, and we hope at some stage in the future to find a case and a way to fund those, some or all, to bring them back into service with us. Do we have enough, though? We would never have enough, and it's fair to say that even with all 38, we know that because they are such high utility, then the Merlin could be used all around the world every day. We know that people want them, and in some cases we have to prioritize those missions because they are so useful and have such high utility. We've seen them used in their core roles, but we've also seen them in the very high profile roles all around the globe, but particularly with things like Ebola, fighting Ebola in Sierra Leone and down in the Mediterranean for the operations supporting migration across the Mediterranean. Crowsnest is a very exciting program that will be on track to deliver in 2018 to replace ultimately the Sea King ASAC, which has again done fantastic service since shortly after the Falklands War. The Crowsnest will bring a really impressive suite of capability, and in terms of a command and control platform, will be a huge step upgrade in the whole of the carrier organization. The thing to say about the Crowsnest and the Sea King Mark 7 before it, Mark 7 has set a really high bar for Crowsnest to follow. In particular, its operations in the Middle East currently are true multi-mission, able to deal with an overland picture should it be required, but in particular at sea, able to do core missions and at the same time pick up what we call peripheral missions, where you're looking at general pattern of life and a range of other information that is often looked at after a sortie has landed and happens purely because the radar is turning. The observers in those aircraft can deal with 2 or 3 missions at any one time. And I think that with the combination of operating with the Scan Eagle unmanned air system or other unmanned air systems and the data link systems of other ships in the area, you really do have another world-beating capability in what will become Crowsnest. Let's go on to Fixedwing. The Royal Navy Fixedwing fast jet cadre is down here. Many of them are out in the US, but when they come back from the US, until the F-35B ends up at RAF Marham, then they will come back over here to Culdrose. And we have 736 Naval Air Squadron, the aggressor squadron that does training for flag officer sea training against our ships, both from the UK and from coalition nations. We do air defense training and we do close air support training. So again, our fixed-wing pilots are well utilized when they're back from the US in preparation for their time in the F-35. The Defence Review has given us great heart because that will be the second F-35 squadron, which will become 809 Naval Air Squadron. So really exciting news out of this Defence Review. And finally, certainly not last in any way other than they are the last one I will talk about, is the unmanned air system in the Scan Eagle. And I think in many ways it's quite sensible that we leave that till last because it probably has the greatest reach and ultimately will become the thing that in many generations to come will fill the sky without anybody in the aircraft at all. We're at an embryonic stage in as much as we have an urgent operational requirement in the Scan Eagle, which we have filled, but we know that the future will include an unmanned version of some kind of platform at sea as we bring in the 2 new aircraft carriers. And let's finish where we started with Culdrose and the future. The Defence Review has given us 2 fully operable, 100% available aircraft carriers. That's a huge challenge for us, but we're so excited by that challenge. We have people and equipment that will be in less than 1 job as we work in multiples of 2-ish years for each of our jobs. They will soon be deploying to the Queen Elizabeth, HMS Queen Elizabeth, in rotary and fixed-wing aeroplanes and potentially in unmanned aeroplanes. And the role of Culdrose is integral to every part of that ship. From the people that will work up in effectively the air traffic control tower, we call it flying control or FlyCo, all the way through to the handlers on the deck who currently are working on American ships to get their skills back, and the pilots and observers and air crewmen and engineers that will work on the decks. Culdrose will be central to that from now and for many decades into the future. So it's a very, very exciting time to be the commanding officer of the Naval Air Station here at Culdrose.